Shock horror! Greedy developers are building 37 square metre apartments, and these are too small, according to The Guardian. Often on Property Breaking News, we're ranting on the leftyism reported in The Guardian, but I always recommend as an entrepreneur you read The Guardian. I'll tell you why. What they normally do is they write articles and they say, shock horror, this business person, entrepreneur, property developer is doing X. How bad it is to do it. Now, if you are an entrepreneur, property developer, business person, well, if lots of people are doing that strategy and being successful at it, then that's something to home in on. Now, one thing we find time and time again when people are doing commercial conversions and permitted development, they're saying, well, how big should my apartments be? Should we, national minimum space standard, say 37 square meters for a one-bedroom apartment? Now, this article talks about what Barratt Homes, a very, very big developer, is doing with the former Eastman Kodak office in Harrow. What are they up to down there?
Well,
I'm joined by Andrew, forgot to say. Andrew Roberts, as always, on Property Breaking News.
Well, I was going to say the younger, brighter Andrew is here to join you once again. And what a delight. Thank you, Ranjan. Well, Barratt Homes have done an office to residential conversion under the old Class O, where they didn't need to meet space standards, and created studio apartments where, as one person complained to The Guardian, they have to move their bike to get past the kitchen sink.
Well, if it's too big, then they'll say they'll have to get on their bike to get onto the kitchen sink. I mean,
absolutely.
It's one complaint or the other. Go on.
You can never win. You can never please all the people all the time, can you? But the top and bottom of it is Barratts have utilised the permitted development rights that are given to all of us that own or control property to be able to add value or reconfigure it. And all they have done is worked within the rules as the government have set them. So I don't think Barratt's have done anything wrong. They are working within the legal framework.
And of course, these 37 square metre flats are for single-person households.
Yeah.
These space standards were set quite some time ago, and people forget this. These space standards were set in about 1969, 1970. And that was a time where if you had a TV, it was that deep. And you had big record players and all of this. And now you just go with one of these, don't you? You move in one of these and you don't need anything else. So
well, I've been in your lounge and you've got the old-fashioned tube TV and the old hi-fi stack.
And all that. No, but people don't. People don't have all that stuff anymore. People don't have the CD record collections and all of that. Yeah. So you need less space than ever before. So the whole idea of the space standards, these space standards were designed for a different time. So they're quite generous.
They're exceptionally generous. And if we were to look at one of the key criterions is not just space, but light. Now, we're doing a development with the Mastermind group in Leicester. And the flats that we're creating are much larger than national space standards. And the reason they're larger is to make sure they've got adequate natural light throughout the whole building. So they're places that people want to live, work and play.
Yes.
And I think that is the point that is often missed by a lot of developers is they try and squeeze as much as they can in, but they forget about who is going to take over that property when you finish. So it's about doing the right thing and developing quality products that have the best value per square foot for you as a developer.
We'll get back to the video in just a moment. What is the most exciting opportunity in property right now? And that is repurposing defunct commercial buildings to residential use. Now, most people don't really know where to start, what to look for and how to exploit these opportunities. And that's why I've prepared 90 minutes of free training for you to get you started on this wonderful journey. You can register for this free training at property-workshop.com. Join me on that free training and I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of the video. I think the important thing that I wanted people to get out of this is that Barratt Homes, of course, a big developer, big company, do a lot of research.
Yeah.
So they have taken this former Kodak office building in Harrow, and they've decided for that area the best dwelling mix to focus on is all 37
Studios.
square metre apartments. That will provide them with the optimum return for that square footage of space in that area.
Correct.
And I think this is the sort of thing that people should look at. When you're in city centres and you're converting commercial buildings to residential use, that tends to be the optimum size to aim for.
Yeah. Well, it's about working out who your customer is that is going to occupy that site. Once you know who the customer is that's going to occupy it, be it you're selling it or renting it, build based around that market. Now, what I personally love about the permitted development system or the prior approval system is you're not told by the council, we want 3 2-beds, 4 1-beds and 2 3-beds. You can have a mix of property that is relevant to you as a developer, that the market needs, not what the council are trying to force upon the market, but there might be no demand for.
And the other thing that's worth saying is, I mean, I quote from the Guardian article, the flats start at £285,000, significantly cheaper than the average £321,000 for homes in Harrow. Now, the thing is, when we talk about affordable housing, you can't get away from the fact that property is priced at price per square foot. So the only way to make housing affordable is to say, well, okay, we will do more from lesser square foot by intelligent, smart design. And that's pretty much what they've done. They've made these flats cheaper than the average because, yes, it may be slightly smaller, but in excess of minimum space standards, but using clever use of the space. And that's what we should all do as developers.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And what I find surprising, though, is you're actually quoting The Guardian. I mean, I think I had to sort of faint there for a second. Ranjan quoting The Guardian.
Well, as I said in the introduction, I love these articles. When they bang on about, shock horror, how bad big company is and what they're doing, I read those articles because what you want to do is read those articles and say, well, okay, how can you apply some of those techniques in your game?
I do exactly the same, and I also look not just here in the UK, but I look abroad at what happens in other markets and see what you can bring here to gain competitive advantage over other players in your market by getting inspiration and ideas.
And of course, this sort of scheme is ideal for build to rent because if you convert an office building or space above shops and all of that to residential use, under permitted development, if you want to build all 37 square metre units, you can do so. Under planning permission, as you mentioned, they'll force you to have a dwelling mix, a couple of 2-beds, a couple of 1-beds.
Yeah.
So if you want to rent out, you will get the best yield from 37 square metre units in city centre, well-located places.
Absolutely. It's about getting the best value from that pound per square foot. And sometimes we had a little challenge, didn't we? Trying to work out how to get into certain ones of the flats that we were creating. And what we did was well, I tell you what, we'll move the stairs orientation around in order that it can come in the dark part of the building where there's no natural light. So it's thinking creatively.
Smart use of space. Anyway, that's what we always bang on about on this channel. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon and you'll get notified when we put out our videos. Also, attend some of the free web masterclasses we have on commercial to residential conversions and doing commercial property right, as talked about in The Guardian. So join us in the next video. Andrew, thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much once again, Ranjan. Pleasure.
See you guys in the next video. High streets across the land are changing forever. Basically, there's an oversupply of retail premises. Shops are closing down, more are going to close down in the future. The government know this, and that's why they're introducing a light touch planning system which allows small developers to easily repurpose these buildings to residential use under a light touch planning regime called permitted development. Now, this is going to be the biggest revolution and the biggest change and the biggest opportunity for property investors that I've ever seen. And this This is all coming into effect on 1st of August. So you need to know what's happening and what properties to look for to take advantage of these opportunities so that you can get in there and take that first mover advantage. I've got a 90-minute free masterclass to get you ready for August the 1st. Make sure you join me, click the link below. Whether you're a beginner or expert, we'll get you started.